여러분, 안녕하세요.
저는 켈리 선생님.
저는 아리아나 선생님입니다.
Before starting today's class, we will first check the correct answer to the homework given in the last class. This is the correct answer to homework. First, 내가 아는 사람 얘기해줄게. It means I'll tell you who I know. Next, 저기 음악을 듣는 사람이 스캇이에요. It means the person listening to music over there is Scott. Next, 저는 호텔에서 요리하는 김지아입니다. I'm Jia Kim, who cooks at the hotel. Next, 지금 읽는 책은 어린 왕자입니다. It means the book I'm reading now is The Little Prince. Next, 요즘 보는 드라마는 로스쿨이에요. It means the drama I watch these days is Law School. Did you do your homework well?
That's great. Well, before starting today's class, we will review what we learned last time. Let's review about 는. 는 is used after the stem of a verb. It also modifies the following noun. And it shows an event or action occurring in the present. For example, there is a sentence such as 저는 음식을 만드는 요리사예요. The meaning of this sentence is I'm a cook who cooks food.
Yes, do you remember what grammar means? Then let's see what form it is used for. Let's review when 는 is used. With or without a final consonant in the stem of a verb, we can use 는. For example, if you see the verb 먹다, first delete 다. Then you can see the final consonant in the stem of the verb. Then we can use 는 after it. Then it becomes 먹는.
Now let's look at verbs without a final consonant. For example, if you see the verb 배우다, first delete 다. Then you see that there is no final consonant in the stem of the verb. Then we can use 는 after it. So it becomes 배우는.
Yes, I will review the case when the final consonant is 리을. First, you can remove 리을 and edit 는. For example, if you see the verb 만들다, first delete 다. Then, you can see that the final consonant of the verb stem is 리을, right? Yes, then remove 리을 first and use 는. So it becomes 만드는.
Let's look at another example. When we see the verb 살다, we first delete 다. Then you can see that the final consonant is 리을. Then remove 리을 first and edit 는. So it becomes 사는.
Yes, thank you. Then from now on, let's review more while looking at the example sentences. This is the first example sentence. 저는 한국어를 배우다 학생이에요. If we apply the grammar we learned last time, it becomes the sentence 저는 한국어를 배우는 학생이에요. If you delete 다 from the verb 배우다, you can see that there is no final consonant in the stem of the verb. That's why we use 는. Then it becomes 배우는. Let's say it together. 저는 한국어를 배우는 학생이에요.
This is the second example sentence. 제가 자주 먹다 음식은 피자예요. If you remove 다 from the verb 먹다 in this sentence, you can see that there is a final consonant in the stem of the verb. That's why we use 는. Then 제가 자주 먹는 음식은 피자예요. Let's say it again. 제가 자주 먹는 음식은 피자예요.
Yes, this is the third example sentence. 쉬다 시간에는 음악을 들어요. If you look at this sentence, you can delete 다 from the verb 쉬다. Then you see that there is no final consonant in the stem of the verb. Yes, then we can use 는 after it. So it becomes 쉬는 시간에는 음악을 들어요. Repeat after me. 쉬는 시간에는 음악을 들어요.
This is the fourth example sentence. 여기는 제가 잘 알다 동네예요. Applying the grammar we learned today, it becomes the sentence. 여기는 제가 잘 아는 동네예요. Here, if you delete 다 from the verb 알다, you can see that the final consonant is real, right? Then we can use 는. So it becomes 아는. Let's say it together. 여기는 제가 잘 아는 동네예요.
Yes, thank you. And next one. 여기는 놀다 곳이 아니에요. If you look at this sentence, you can first delete 다 from the verb 놀다. Then you can see that the final consonant is real, right? Yes, then we use 는 after it. So it becomes 노는. Yes, let's say it together. 여기는 노는 곳이 아니에요.
Yes, thank you. So can you tell us the table of contents before starting today's class, Teacher Kelly?
Yes, of course, I will give you the concepts for today's class. First, let's learn the grammar concepts of Korean. And second, let's do some problem solutions to practice the grammar we learned. Third, after solving the problem, we will learn the concept by applying our knowledge. And fourth, we will practice by repeating the conversation directly through conversation class. And lastly, we will take time to organize the class and announce the homework.
Yes, thank you. Then we will start the class. Today's lesson in 은것 같다 and 니은 것 같다. They are used after the stem of a verb or adjective. Also, it is used to talk about an action that happened in the past or to guess what happened in the past. For example, there is a sentence like this. 미소 씨는 집에 간 것 같아요. 가방이 자리에 없어요. The meaning of this sentence is that 미소 has gone home. Her bag is not there. We can say 간 것 같아요 on the basis of 가방이 자리에 없어요.
Yes, let's look at another example. 미소 씨 책상 위에 꽃이 있어요. 남자친구한테 선물 받은 것 같아요. The meaning of this sentence is that there is a flower on Miso's desk. I think it was a gift from her boyfriend. Here, 책상 위에 꽃이 있어요 is the basis, and basis on this fact we guess and say 받은 것 같아요.
Then let's see what form it is used for. Let's learn when the 인것 같다 is used. If there is a final consonant in the stem, we can use 인것 같다. For example, if you see the verb 먹다, first delete 다. Then see the final consonant in the stem of the verb. Then we can use 인것 같다 after it. It becomes 먹은 것 같다.
Yes, let's look at another example. When we see the verb 읽다, we can first delete 다. Then we can see that there is no final consonant in the stem of the verb. Then we use 인것 같다 after it. So it becomes 읽은 것 같다.
Then I explain 니은 것 같다. When there is no final consonant in the stem, 니은 것 같다 is used. For example, if you see the verb 가다, for first delete 다. So can you see that there is no final consonant in the stem of the verb? Then we can use 니은 것 같다 after it. So it becomes 간 것 같다.
Yes, let's look at another example. When looking at the verb 오다, we delete 다 first. Then we can see that the stem of the verb has no final consonant. Then we use 니은 것 같다 after it. So it becomes 온 것 같다.
Yes, even when the final consonant is real, 니은 것 같다 is used. For example, if you see the verb 만들다, first delete 다, then you can see that the final consonant is real in the stem of the verb. Then first we remove real and added 니은 것 같다 after it. So it becomes 만든 것 같다.
Yes, let's look at another example. When we see the verb 알다, first delete 다. Then we can see that the final consonant is real in the stem of the verb, right? Yes, then we use 니은 것 같다 after it. So it becomes 안 것 같다.
Then from now on, let's learn more while looking at the example sentences. This is the first example sentence. 학생들이 나오는 게 수업이 다 끝나다. If we apply the grammar we learned today, it becomes the sentence 학생들이 나오는 게 수업이 다 끝난 것 같아요. Here, if you delete 다 from the verb 끝나다, you can see that there is no final consonant in the stem of the verb. That's why we use 니은 것 같다. So it becomes 끝난 것 같다.
Yes, this is the second example sentence. 음식을 다 먹다. If you remove 다 from the verb 먹다 in this sentence, you can see that there is a final consonant in the stem of the verb. That's why we use 것 같다. Then it becomes 음식을 다 먹은 것 같아요.
This is the third example sentence. 이 가방은 미소 씨가 만들다. In this sentence, we delete 다 from the verb 만들다. Then you can see that the consonant is real in the stem of the verb. Then we can use 니은 것 같다 after it. So it becomes 이 가방은 미소 씨가 만든 것 같아요.
Yes, this is the fourth example. 미소 씨가 감기에 걸리다. If you apply the grammar we learned today, it becomes the sentence 미소 씨가 감기에 걸린 것 같아요. Here, if you delete 다 from the verb 감기에 걸리다, we can see that there is no final consonant in the stem of the verb. Then we use 니은 것 같아요. So it becomes 미소 씨가 감기에 걸린 것 같아요.
This is the last example sentence. 미소 씨가 잠을 잘 못 자다. If you remove 다 from the verb 자다 in this sentence, can you see that there is no final consonant in the stem of the verb? Then we can use 니은 것 같다. Then it becomes 미소 씨가 잠을 잘 못 잔 것 같아요.
Yes, do you understand? If you understand, please make a circle over your head.
Yes, thank you. Then we will take time to practice the grammar we just learned. Then let's solve the problem by applying the grammar learned today. The first problem will be solved with us, and for the second problem, we will give you a little time, so please try it. This is the first problem. 동생이 수업 끝나고 먼저 집에 가다. How can we change 가다? Yes, right. The answer is 간 것 같다. If you remove 다 from the verb 가다, there is no final consonant, right? So we can use 니은 것 같다. Then it becomes 동생이 수업 끝나고 먼저 집에 간 것 같다. Let's say together. 동생이 수업 끝나고 먼저 집에 간 것 같다. One more time. 동생이 수업 끝나고 먼저 집에 간 것 같다.
Yes, next one. 어제 너무 추워서 감기 걸리다. How can you change 감기 걸리다? I'll give you 5 seconds. Yes, the answer is 감기 걸린 것 같다. If you remove 다 from the verb 걸리다, there is no final consonant. So we can use 니은 것 같다. Then it becomes 걸린 것 같다. Yes, let's say it together. 어제 너무 추워서 감기 걸린 것 같다. One more time. 어제 너무 추워서 감기 걸린 것 같다.
Next problem. 아마 저 대신에 언니가 짐을 찼다. How can we change 찾다? Yes, the answer is 찾은 것 같다. If you remove 다 from the verb 찾다, there is a final consonant. So we can use 은 것 같다. Then it becomes 아마 저 대신에 언니가 짐을 찾은 것 같다. Let's say it together. 아마 저 대신에 언니가 짐을 찾은 것 같다. One more time. 아마 저 대신에 언니가 짐을 찾은 것 같다.
Yes, next problem. 휴대폰 충전이 끝나다. How can you change 끝나다? I'll give you 5 seconds. Yes, the answer is 끝난 것 같다. If you remove 다 from the verb 끝나다, there is no final consonant. So we can use 니은 것 같다. Then it becomes 끝난 것 같다. Let's say it together. 휴대폰 충전이 끝난 것 같다. One more time. 휴대폰 충전이 끝난 것 같다.
Next problem. 정민이가 사건의 진실을 알다. How can we change 알다? Yes, the answer is 안 것 같다. If you remove 다 from the verb 알다, there is a final consonant lir. So first, we can remove lir and add it 니은 것 같다. Then it becomes 정민이가 사건의 진실을 안 것 같다. Let's say together. 정민이가 사건의 진실을 안 것 같다. One more time. 정민이가 사건의 진실을 안 것 같다.
Yes, next one. 하은이가 전화를 안 받는 걸 보니 바쁘다. How can you change 바쁘다? I'll give you 5 seconds. Yes, the answer is 바쁜 것 같다. If you remove 다 from the adjective 바쁘다, there is no final consonant. So we can use 니은 것 같다. Then it becomes 바쁜 것 같다. Let's say it together. 하은이가 전화를 안 받는 걸 보니 바쁜 것 같다. One more time. 하은이가 전화를 안 받는 걸 보니 바쁜 것 같다.
Next problem. 아마 그 오븐은 저희 엄마가 사다. How can we change 사다? Yes, the answer is 산 것 같다. If you remove 다 from the verb 사다, there is no final consonant. So we can use 니은 것 같다. Then it becomes 아마 그 오븐은 저희 엄마가 산 것 같다. Let's say together. 아마 그 오븐은 저희 엄마가 산 것 같다. One more time. 아마 그 오븐은 저희 엄마가 산 것 같다.
Yes, next one. 날씨가 더워서 음식이 상하다. How can you change 상하다? I'll give you 5 seconds. Yes, correct. The answer is 상한 것 같다. If you remove 다 from the verb 상하다, there is no final consonant. So we can use 니은 것 같다. Then it becomes 상한 것 같다. So let's say it together. 날씨가 더워서 음식이 상한 것 같다. Okay, repeat after me. 날씨가 더워서 음식이 상한 것 같다.
Yes, this time we will look at the verb and solve the problem of changing it accordingly. 좋다, 좋다. How can we change 좋다? Yes, it is 좋은 것 같다. If you remove 다 from the adjective 좋다, there is a final consonant. So we can use 은 것 같다. Then it becomes 좋은 것 같다.
Yes, next one. 상승하다. How can you change 상승하다? Yes, the answer is 상승한 것 같다. If you remove 다 from the verb 상승하다, there is no final consonant. So we can use 니은 것 같다. Then it becomes 상승한 것 같다.
화나다, 화나다. How can we change 화나다? Yes, the answer is 화난 것 같다. If you remove 다 from the adjective 화나다, there is no final consonant. So we can use 니은 것 같다. Then it becomes 화난 것 같다.
Yes, next one. 말하다. How can you change 말하다? Yes, correct. The answer is 말한 것 같다. If you remove 다 from the verb 말하다, there is no final consonant. So we can use 니은 것 같다. Then it becomes 말한 것 같다.
읽다, 읽다. How can we change 읽다? Yes, it is 읽은 것 같다. If you remove 다 from the verb 읽다, there is a final consonant, so we can use 은 것 같다. Then it becomes 읽은 것 같다.
Yes, next one, 만지다. How can you change 만지다? Yes, the answer is 만진 것 같다. If you remove 다 from the verb 만지다, there is no final consonant. So we can use 니은 것 같다. Then it becomes 만진 것 같다.
자다, 자다. How can we change 자다? Yes, the answer is 잔 것 같다. If you remove 다 from the verb 자다, there is no final consonant, so we can use 니은 것 같다. Then it becomes 잔 것 같다.
Yes, next one, 놀라다. How can you change 놀라다? Yes, great. The answer is 놀란 것 같다. If you remove 다 from the verb 놀라다, there is no final consonant. So we can use 니은 것 같다. Then it becomes 놀란 것 같다.
피곤하다, 피곤하다. How can we change 피곤하다? Yes, it is 피곤한 것 같다. If you remove 다 from the verb 피곤하다, there is no final consonant, so we can use 는 것 같. So we can use 니은 것 같다. Then it becomes 피곤한 것 같다.
Yes, next one, 씻다. How can you change 씻다? Yes, the answer is 씻은 것 같다. If you remove 다 from the verb 씻다, there is a final consonant. So we can use 은 것 같다. Then it becomes 씻은 것 같다.
Yes, the problem solving time ends here. Next time is a fun conversation time.
Everyone, fun conversation time is back. Hello, I'm teacher Grace.
And I'm teacher Rio. Grace, I'm so looking forward to the conversation class.
Why?
I can go to different spaces during conversation time and then learn new grammar in a new place.
That's right. So today I'm going to Busan.
Wow, Busan?
Yes, Busan has a beach and a city. It's really nice. I think we will love go to Busan.
Then let's go to the Busan. Shall we go together? Wow, Grace, is this Busan?
Yes, what do you think? It's a beautiful city with a lot of people, right?
Yeah, Grace, take a look. 그레이스, 저쪽은 사람이 모여 있는 것 같은데 가볼까요?
그레이스, 저쪽은 사람이 모여 있는 것 같은데 가볼까요? The meaning of this sentence is, Grace, I think there's a cloud over there. What's he doing? Shall we go? Can you see the grammar? 은, 것 같다. We learn today. Use 은, 것 같다 after the verb interval. The 은, 니은 것 같다 refers to an action that has happened in the past. 은, 니은 것 같다 is used to guess what happened in the past. Rio used the phrase 저쪽은 사람이 모여 있는 것 같은데 to Grace. Please repeat after me. Grace, 저쪽은 사람이 모여 있는 것 같은데 가볼까요?
Grace, 저쪽은 사람이 모여 있는 것 같은데 가볼까요? Here, 저쪽 is over there. Everyone, what do you say over there in Korean? Yes, it is 저쪽. Repeat after me one more time. Grace, 저쪽은 사람이 모여 있는 것 같은데 가볼까요?
Grace, 저쪽은 사람이 모여 있는 것 같은데 가볼까요? This time, after I read it quickly, please repeat after me. Grace, 저쪽은 사람이 모여 있는 것 같은데 가볼까요?
Grace, 저쪽은 사람이 모여 있는 것 같은데 가볼까요? Yes, the pronunciation is almost like Korean. People are busking.
That's right. The song is really nice.
Grace, what kind of songs do you like, Grace?
I like pop songs.
저 사람이 팝송을 부르는 것 같은데 안 그런가요?
저 사람이 팝송을 부르는 것 같은데 안 그런가요? The meaning of this sentence is, I think he sang a pop song, didn't he? Can you see the grammar? 은, 니은 것 같다, we learned today. I added 는 to the verb 부르다. So it becomes 부르는 것 같다. Repeat after me. 저 사람이 팝송을 부르는 것 같은데 안 그런가요?
저 사람이 팝송을 부르는 것 같은데 안 그런가요? Here, 노래를 부르다 is to sing a song. Everyone, what do you say to sing a song in Korean? Yes, it is 노래를 부르다. Repeat after me one more time. 저 사람이 팝송을 부르는 것 같은데 안 그런가요?
저 사람이 팝송을 부르는 것 같은데 안 그런가요? This time, after I read it quickly, please repeat after me. 저 사람이 팝송을 부르는 것 같은데 안 그런가요?
저 사람이 팝송을 부르는 것 같은데 안 그런가요?
Rio, did you have a good look around the store?
Yes, there are so many souvenirs in the store.
Shall we go eat then?
부산은 해산물이 유명한 것 같은데 해산물 먹으러 갈까요?
부산은 해산물이 유명한 것 같은데 해산물 먹으러 갈까요?
The meaning of this sentence is I think Busan is famous for seafood. Should we go eat seafood? Can you see the grammar? 은, 니은, 것 같다. We learned today. The adjective 유명한 has a plus 은, 니은, 것 같다. So it becomes 유명한 것 같다. Repeat after me. 부산은 해산물이 유명한 것 같은데 해산물 먹으러 갈까요?
부산은 해산물이 유명한 것 같은데 해산물 먹으러 갈까요? Here, 해산물 is seafood. Everyone, what do you say seafood in Korean? Yes, it is 해산물. Repeat after me one more time. 부산은 해산물이 유명한 것 같은데 해산물 먹으러 갈까요?
부산은 해산물이 유명한 것 같은데 해산물 먹으러 갈까요? This time, after I read it quickly, please repeat after me. 부산은 해산물이 유명한 것 같은데 해산물 먹으러 갈까요?
부산은 해산물이 유명한 것 같은데 해산물 먹으러 갈까요?
Grace, have you ever eaten seafood?
Yes, of course. I like seafood.
저번에 보니까 새우를 좋아한 것 같았어요.
저번에 보니까 새우를 좋아한 것 같았어요.
The meaning of this sentence is the last time I saw you. It seemed like you liked shrimp. Can you see the grammar 은, 니은 것 같다 we learned today?
The verb 좋아하다 is added with 은, 니은 것 같다. So it becomes 좋아하는. Repeat after me. 저번에 보니까 새우를 좋아한 것 같았어요.
저번에 보니까 새우를 좋아한 것 같았어요. Here, 새우 is shrimp. Everyone, what do you say shrimp in Korean? Yes, it is 새우.
Repeat after me one more time. 저번에 보니까 새우를 좋아하는 것 같았어요.
저번에 보니까 새우를 좋아한 것 같았어요. This time, after I read it quickly, please repeat after me. 저번에 보니까 새우를 좋아한 것 같았어요.
저번에 보니까 새우를 좋아한 것 같았어요.
Yes, everyone did so well. Thank you so much. Shall we clap once for all of you who studied hard today?
This is the end of conversation time. Then we will invite Kelly and Ariana and have some time to wrap it up.
Did you understand everything we learned today? Yes, I think everyone understands. Then I will leave you it so that you don't forget it. Let's leave you about 인got 같다 and 니은것 같다. They are used after the stem of a verb or adjective. Also, it is used to talk about an action that happened in the past or to guess what happened in the past. For example, there is a sentence like this. 미소 씨는 집에 간 것 같아요. 가방이 자리에 없어요. The meaning of this sentence is that 미소 has gone home, her bag is not there. We can say 간 것 같아요 on the basis of 가방이 자리에 없어요.
Let's look at another example. 미소 씨 책상 위에 꽃이 있어요. 남자친구한테 선물 받은 것 같아요. The meaning of this sentence is there is a flower on 미소's desk. I think it was a gift from her boyfriend. Here, 책상 위에 꽃이 있어요 is the basis, and based on this fact, we guess and say 받은 것 같아요.
Then let's review what form it is used for. Let's review when the 인것 같다 is used. If there is a final consonant in the stem, we can use 인것 같다. For example, if you see the verb 먹다, first delete 다. Then we can see the final consonant in the stem of the verb. Yes, so we can use 인것 같다 after it. Then it becomes 먹은 것 같다.
Let's look at another example. When we see the verb 있다, we first delete 다. Then you can see that there is a final consonant in the stem of the verb. Then you can use 인것 같다 after it. It becomes 읽은 것 같다.
Yes, I will explain 니은것 같다. When there is no final consonant in the stem, 니은것 같다 is used. For example, if you see the verb 가다, first delete 다. So can you see that there is no final consonant in the stem of the verb? Then we use 니은것 같다 after it. So it becomes 간 것 같다.
Let's look at another example. When looking at the verb 오다, we delete 다 first. Then you can see that the stem of the verb has no final consonant. Then we use 니은 것 같다 after it. So it becomes 온 것 같다.
Yes, even when the final consonant is 리을, 니은 것 같다 is used. For example, if you see the verb 만들다, first delete 다, then you can see that the final consonant is real in the stem of the verb. Then first we remove real and added 니은 것 같다 after it. So it becomes 만든 것 같다.
Let's look at another example. When you see the verb 알다, first delete 다. Then you can see that the final consonant is real in the stem of the verb. Then we can use 니은 것 같다 after it. So it becomes 안 것 같다.
Yes, from now on, let's review more while looking at the example sentences. This is the first example. 미소 씨가 감기에 걸리다. If you apply the grammar we learned today, it becomes the sentence 미소 씨가 감기에 걸린 것 같아요. Here, if you delete 다 from the verb 감기에 걸리다, you can see that there is no final consonant in the stem of the verb. Then we can use 니은 것 같아요. So it becomes 미소 씨가 감기에 걸린 것 같아요.
This is the last example. 미소 씨가 잠을 잘 못 자다. If you remove 다 from the verb 자다 in this sentence, can you see that there is no final consonant in the stem of the verb? Then we can use 니은 것 같다. Then it becomes 미소 씨가 잠을 잘 못 잔 것 같아요.
Yes, thank you. So today's class is done here. So finally, let me tell you about homework. Today's homework is to complete the sentences using the grammar we learned today.
Yes, I hope you don't forget your homework. So let's take the time to learn basic words.
Hello everyone! It's a fun time to learn basic words. The basic words we will learn today are 춥다, 덥다, 습하다. First, the meaning of the word 춥다 is to be cold. You can use it when you feel cold. For example, if it's too cold outside, you can say 밖이 너무 추워. The second basic word is 덥다. The meaning of 덥다 is to be hot in English. You can use it when it is hot unlike cold. For example, you can use it like it's too hot now. 지금 너무 더워요. The last word to learn is 습하다. The meaning of 습하다 is humid. It can be used when the temperature is humid. For example, you can say 잠을 자고 일어났더니 날씨가 너무 습해요. Everyone, did you understand? I hope you use the verb we learned today in your daily life. Then, we will end today's class here. 여러분, 다음에 봐요. Bye!
Hello, my name is Joey. I am a mind education specialist. And you might be wondering, what is mind education? Actually, mind education is a character development education that we originally developed to help children grow up to be successful adults. And we believe that this character development education can be beneficial for you as well, because many inmates of different countries were able to benefit from our program. So, without any further ado, let's dive right in. Now, here we have a picture of a bridge. Now, I know you might be thinking, wait, how could I? That doesn't even make sense. How am I supposed to imagine that I'm a bridge? I'm a human being. But, you know that famous movie, Forrest Gump? He said, life is like a box of chocolates, right? So let's just take that same idea and apply it to our lives. Imagine if we were like a bridge. We would be connecting one place to another, and whoever comes down the road, they're going to try and cross us. So let's imagine, what kind of things do we come across in our lives? Well, when we were younger, we were coming across school, we were coming across school assignments, we were coming across lots of different friends, we were coming across lots of difficult teachers, and people that we didn't like, people we do like, and so on and so forth. The list goes on. And imagine how your life was like before you ever did anything bad. Imagine that. And that's the bridge that I want you to think about. Sometimes there were difficult things happening, and it was weighing heavy on the bridge. But you managed to endure it and say, you know what, I overcame that. And when there were some difficult things, like for instance, if a bunch of kids were to walk down this bridge, they're going to be stomping all over the place, right? They're not supposed to be that heavy, but they sure feel heavy. And they're going to be hanging on the railings, hanging out and hanging in, and trying to play all around. And as a bridge, you probably wouldn't like that. But you had your difficulties, and you were able to handle them. And as time would go on, the bridge would have its wear and tear. Sometimes when there's something too heavy, there's a boom, a nick here, boom, a crack there. And as this continues to happen over time, the bridge will get weaker and weaker. And as you see in this picture, the bridge is torn apart in a lot of different places. There's moss growing on the bridge. The things that you didn't even think about becomes a problem later on. Things that you would just kind of sweep under the rug once in a while sometimes comes back and haunts you. And sometimes the things that you feel were just too difficult, those things leave a scar, a wound in your heart. And as these things continue to pile on and on with the oncoming years, what do we see here? There is the parts that are supposed to hold up the bridge. But with the wear and tear of the water, it's become weaker and weaker. Imagine what's going to happen if something heavy were to pass over on that bridge now. It'd be a very dangerous cross, right? And that is how, when our lives began to sustain a lot of damage, when our hearts sustained a lot of wounds, lots of scars, then these damages accumulate over time. And then until one day, what happens? What happened that one day? Eventually, the bridge snaps. And all the things that you have piled up to work for, all the things that you were doing in your life, comes to a crumbling halt. And the bridge snaps. And imagine if this was the event that caused you to first take that first step into doing something illegal. I mean, of course, there are lots of different laws that make it impossible for you to tell whether if you were doing something illegal or not. But you know, the first day, the first time that you've ever had that bridge collapse under you, something happened. Well, actually, many things were happening, and it just pushed you over the edge to do the thing that it made you end up where you are. Or for some of you, it might have been a cascade of events that started from that one little point, that one moment in your life where you decided to say, you know what? I don't care about anything else. You know what? I can't take this anymore. I am going to go in this direction, and nobody gonna stop me. Now, why did the bridge snap? Think about that. Well, bridges normally snap because of what we just talked about, the wear and tear, the heavy things, and the accumulation of different damages. Yes, sure, that's true. As you can see in this picture, this is a train track. In other words, Trains are supposed to pass on it. This is a bridge built for trains. But why is it that the bridge has to snap all of a sudden? Is it because the train is too heavy? No, the bridge was built for that. And the answer is that things happened. Damages accumulate. Things were happening and nothing was done about it. Now, I know we talked a lot about bridges until just now. So let's actually talk about what's going on inside our minds, or rather, what's going on inside our hearts. Now, we just talked about a bunch of different reasons. Things that happen on the outside, things that piss us off, things that make us snap. When actually, these things don't just make us snap. First, we know how to handle ourselves. We are human beings. We have different experiences that prevent us. We have different safety measures that prevent us from snapping at every little turn in our lives. But these are the things that most people would feel that they have to let out. These are the things that would cause people to snap. And let's just look at a few of those examples. I mean, there's a lot of different things, but just a few of those examples. Some of those things could be divorce, failure, people's words, or actions. You know, it could be somebody dissing you, and then that's the last straw, and snaps the camel's back, and then you go wild. Or it could be some action. Somebody threw something at you, and you were already having a hard day. Or it could be an actual object being thrown at your head when you're just trying to walk, and then somebody in the car throws water bottles at you. I mean, actually, I had that happen to me once. Oh my God, I lost it. It was at midnight, and I was just walking back because that was before I bought my car, right? And I totally snapped. I ran after the car, and I was demanding that the driver come out. Well, the driver just drove away, but still, when people throw things at you, I mean, it's just like, wow. It was midnight, and I was tired, and I don't know where I got this burst of energy from, but I just snapped. So I know things happen. As we're a bridge, we don't get to pick and choose what gets to cross us. Things just happen. And because things just happen, we react. What can we do? How can we prevent this? The thing is, we can't. And that's just life. So how do we go about, doing something about it? Well, before we get to what we do something about it, let's actually look at the things that led to where we are. So yes, these things happen. People get a divorce. People experience failure. People say things that are hurtful. People do things that are hurtful. But this is just part of everyday life. And this is what we call the superficial reason. These are the things that we can see with our eyes, feel with our bodies. But is this really the reason why we are here today? No, that's not the real reason. It's the accumulation of all these things, true, but let's take a more detailed look. So as these kinds of things wound our hearts, scar our hearts, and cause us to feel pain, our hearts begin to ache. You ever felt that? I mean, if you've ever had an experience dating somebody, they say you have a heartbreak, right? So that's the next part right here, a wounded heart. And they say, they talk about heartbreak all the time. And now, these are the things that actually happen when a lot of these kinds of difficulties and damages in our hearts go untreated. Every little thing that happens to you, you might just say, I'm man enough to take it. Sure. But if you're just taking it and doing nothing about it, is that really the safest way? Is that really the healthiest way? Our hearts are much like our bodies. When there's a wound, when there's a scar, we need to do something about it. But tell me, what have you done about the different things that happen to your lives? That's food for thought, right? We'll talk a little bit more about that as we move along. Now, finally, our hearts get sick. What does that even mean? Well, you know what that means. Our hearts get sick to a point where suicide begins to look like a good idea, and where committing crimes begin to look like a good idea. And for a while, it carries on pretty well. until, you get caught. And now, we might blame all of our lives, all of our, the fact that we're here, into the fact that, oh, my life happened to me, or as the internet would usually say, the streets chose me. I didn't choose the streets. But sure, that's one way of looking at things. Then does that mean that every single human being, for as long as they live, they're going to go through this collapse? No. There are people who are outside of prison. There are people who've never been in prison. There are people who will never see prison for the rest of their lives. So that isn't necessarily the only way of looking at things, but there is a different way of looking at things. And this is what we do in mind education. We want to take a step further into our hearts. So let's take a look. What happens is that after we go through some damaging experience in our hearts, we say, wow, that was terrible. I never want to experience that again. We try to pick and choose what gets to cross over this bridge of life. And we try to say, no, I don't want that. I don't want this. I don't want to eat my greens. I don't want to eat my veggies, right? We start out like that. And we say, no, I only want to have candy. I only want to have ice cream. And then little by little, what do we say? No, I don't want to listen to you, teacher. No, I don't want to do this homework. No, this is my least favorite subject, so I'm not even going to touch it. I don't care if I fail. Sound familiar? Or maybe you did everything right until a certain point, and you decided to say, no, now that I'm an adult, I'm going to choose what I want to do. I don't want to listen to you, wife. I don't want to listen to you, parents. I don't want to listen to da-da-da-da-da, right? We try to pick and choose what gets to cross our bridge. And because that is the case, what's going to happen? Our bridge stays exactly the way we are. All the damages, all the wear and tear, all the moss, all the mold, everything just remains exactly as it was. And we like to say, I'm not doing that. But what's that making our hearts do? We're taking all of these damages and we're just sustaining it. So now let's look at the further depths of this problem. We say this is the fundamental reason. Do you see what that is? I mean, it's a little difficult to read. It says weak heart. Our hearts become weak with the passing of time. Our hearts become weak as we're sustaining damages in our lives. That's inevitable. That's just going to happen whether we like it or not. But does that mean that every single person out there in the world, every single person who's out there who's never been in prison is eventually going to end up here or end up committing suicide? No. There is a different way of going about things. So let's look at it. As you can see, in our weak minds, we were talking about how we try to pick and choose what gets to cross the bridge. So, how do we get to that point? It's that we tend to take on a mindset that avoids conflict, that avoids difficulties, that avoids challenges, and say, you know what? You want me to do that? Nah, I don't want to do that. And whenever some difficulty happens, we say, no, I'm not going to take care of that. No, you take care of it. And we develop a mindset that avoids difficulties, responsibilities, and challenges. And when that continues on, our minds grow weaker. Our minds become so weak to the point where we get sick in our hearts that cause us to do these things. Now, how about on the other hand? Not everybody in the world has to sustain these damages and live the same way that ruins people. So now let's take a look. There is something called the strong mind. Well, obviously, if there's a weak mind, there's got to be a strong mind, right? So what do you think led a strong mind to be where it is? It is the mindset that overcomes. That's the type of mindset that says, yeah, I know, I don't want to have to work after hours, but you know what? I'll do it. I become stronger as I do this. Yeah, I don't want to do this homework assignment, but you know what? I'm going to do it because I'll grow stronger as I do it. And this is the mindset that allows people to have a strong mind. And that is the mindset that allows people to make the bridge stronger. Now, This might sound very abstract, thinking like, yeah, that's easier said than done. My life isn't a bridge. Yeah, if I could afford a reconstruction, yeah, I would have done it years ago. Well, easier said than done, right? We might be asking ourselves, well, how do we do that? Yes, we can make the bridge stronger, but how do you do that? Or, I don't have the money for that. Or maybe even, I don't have time for that. Well, at least we have a little bit of time in here than when we would be out there. Because life happens, everything's going so quickly, and we forget all of this. But the thing is, we want for you to learn how to do all of this so that we'll never end up here ever again. Now, I want you to assess this hypothetical, this imaginary bridge. Bridge, in other words, a person's life. Imagine if there's a bridge with a violent father, with an abusive mother, and a meth junkie brother. And you yourself are a meth junkie. I mean, the bridge itself. How strong do you think this bridge is? How close to snapping do you think this bridge might be? Very close, right? So let's take a look at one bridge that was very close to snapping and has snapped. This is the story of a man named James Anderson.
Is a criminal beyond redemption? Oftentimes we hear these words criminal or delinquent, but we really don't understand what leads someone that's young into these situations. Growing up, I had an extremely abusive family. My reality wasn't coming home to a family to have dinner. I was coming home to a dad that would beat me half to death. I was coming home to a mother that was abusive and a brother that was high on drugs. By the time I was 14 years old, I remember falling deeply addicted to crystal meth, partially on the drugs that my dad was giving me. I remember I got to a really low point in my life when I was about to turn 15. My brother had just tried to commit suicide, and I realized I wanted to do the same thing. I remember emptying pill bottle after pill bottle into my hand. And as I started swallowing all these pills, hours started passing by and I started going into convulsions. And there was a moment I realized I didn't want to die. And I remember my dad came home and I ran to him and I said, "Dad, please just take me to the hospital." And as he saw what I did, instead of doing that, he started to beat me and I fell to the ground. He said, "If you want to die so bad now, you're going to have to deal with it on your own." That's the moment I realized that if nobody cared about me, why should I care about myself? So I started going in and out of jail. I started getting involved deeper into gangs. And by the time I was 17 years old, I was facing over a 35-year sentence. And I got lucky because a lot of people end up going to adult court. And I got left in juvenile court. So I got sentenced to 7 years in a strike. And everyone said, forget about him, he's never going to change. And the only reason why I'm where I am today is because one person decided to say, you are worth it, and show me something that's so powerful, which is love. When I was able to find freedom within my own heart, I realized that I needed to go back and be able to help other people also. I'm now graduating from UCLA this year. I helped to co-found a multi-million-dollar nonprofit organization. I'm a business owner for a Latino clothing line called Los Mayores. I've traveled the world. I think one of the most powerful moments I've had was being recognized for the work I've done in the White House. I just get to show kids that used to be in my position what it means to be loved and that you can live out your dreams if someone just believes in you. Am I still a criminal to you?
Now, as you saw in the story of James Anderson, did his bridge remain collapsed? No, he was able to rebuild. And what was that one point that changed everything around? He was given a presidential mention of honor. He was the CEO, or at least the co-founder, of a multi-million-dollar nonprofit. And he also started a company for people who were previously incarcerated, for ex-convicts to find a job and to sell clothes. That's amazing, isn't it? That's something that people who've never been in prison have a hard time doing. That's downright impossible. The fact that he was able to graduate UCLA and accomplish all these things, and he was traveling the world. You saw those pictures, right? That is possible when you rebuild the bridge. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we move forward in the Mind Education. So I hope that you stay tuned.